Hi guys. So today it's time to start with regression. And basically with regression problems, you're going to be looking for things where you have a sliding value. Something like height, something like weight, especially something like price, or something that's on a scale that has a sliding value, okay? Not something that a categorical type, as you know. Either this is a mouse, this is a cup, or this is a pen. It's not somewhere in between. Whereas with eyes, you have stuff in between. And that's what we are going to use. Regression for regression is a way for us to give a set of values, try to predict another set of values. Okay? So, simply the easiest and simplest, most regression algorithm out there is going to be simple linear regression. And this algorithm is super easy, super fast, and actually pretty helpful in a wide range of circumstances. Basically, you have an X, you have a Y, you have a static plot of data. And then what you want to do is you want to plot the line of best fit so that given a new data point, you can predict the data points X or Y. And so, just to show you what I mean, well, we are going to be doing is we are going to be predicting the heights of sun based on the heights of their fathers. Okay, so as we all know, intelligence is hereditary, which means father height and son heights are going to be correlated. So if you are if you go to Kaggle, or I have also pre-processed this data and it's in GitHub Discord, you can see here that we have father and we have son's data. We are the father's height and the son's height. And what we want to do here is we want to predict line of best fit so that given the height of say the father, we can then predict what the son's height is going to be. And this is a really powerful, really interesting implementation of linear regression. So let's get to it. The first thing that we are going to do is connect our runtime. So I will like Google Colab to do that, and I use it. And then while it's doing that, we need to upload our data. And remember, you can get data from the GitHub or you can process it yourself, as I shown. This is in text format and I have converted it into CSV format, which is going to be easier for this algorithm to read in. Okay, so if you just upload fathers and height CSV, and for our runtime now, what we can do is finally get our data set and import it into up. So the first thing we are going to say is input pandas has PD and pandas is going to handle our data. Okay, we will say our data set is going to be equal to pd dot read underscore CSV, and we are going to input father son height CSV. Okay, so now that we have done, what we need to do is we need to get an X and Y. So if we open up our father son height CSV here in Colab, you can see we have father and we have son. So that's two column and we have about 1,000 entries. So all we have to do here is we will say our X value and we will say is equal to dataset, and inside this square bracket we are going to input the string father because that is the name of the father column. Okay, build a linear regression model. In order to do that, we are going to say from this is a len dot linear model. We are going to import linear regression. Alright, now we have to do is create the model, and since we are going to have multiple models in the Colab file, and I'm going to name our model in underscore reg. We are going to set the equal to linear regression with open parenthesis. Now we all have to do to train our model is say lin reg, that's it. And why are we going to fit our X to our Y? So run that R. Remember, we have to reshape our data. Let me do it. Then this, and it worked fine now. So in order to plot it first, we are gonna do this. We are going to input matplotlib plot as PLTD. And let's just see what our dataset look like without the linear regression line running through it, and say PLTD does scatter. We are gonna have scatter, we're gonna have X, we are gonna have the Y, and our color is going to be equal to blue. Okay, and then we will just say PLTD show. Scatter, comma, right. Yeah. So as you can see right here, we have the height of a father, and then we have height of the son. Okay. And you can obviously see that there is correlation, albeit not a very strong correlation between father and son. As we know, okay, based on the height of their father, but there is definitely a correlation here. And what our linear regression model is doing is it's plotting the line of best fit that most fit perfectly, and also matches this data set of correlation between father and son, right? And so in order to get our line to show up, we are going to say, as we are gonna say pl.t, and we're going to plot x for x value and y for y value instead for being are known as y's. But what if our data is not just a straight line? What if our data would be better if it was, you will, more like a curvy line? What if our data would be better? And for that, we are going to need of polynomial regression too. So let me navigate to Desmos. So we have y equal to x. Now what if our data is more complex? Well, we have to do is have to raise the degree of x, so the square root of x to the third or fourth and fifth, etc, etc. Now in order to do that, it's really simple. All we have to do is say from sklen, the pre-processing, we are going to import our polynomial regression, polynomial features, right? Then from there we are just going to say poly equal to, and we will say features, and then inside here we'll get set of degree equal to what we want degree to be, right? So for an instance, for a simple OP shape, we'll set it to 2, and then our model, if our data is more complex, will keep on raising that, I mean degree, and see which degree works best on dataset. As you can see right here, we will just set degree equal to 2 and then have x poly underscore poly is going to be equal to polyfit underscore transform we are going to transform x so that it is now polynomial represented. Now after that we are going to say parallel fit, and we are going to fit x underscore poly to y. Now we need to train our linear regression model on this new polynomial dataset. So to do that, we are going to say len underscore reg underscore poly. It is going to be equal to linear regression and len underscore reg underscore polyfit. Then we are going to fix the x poly to the y. It looks like our model was. Now all we have to do is represent it. So if I copy code right here, then paste it down here, and all I have to do, instead of saying lin racto predict, we are going to say lin ract poly drop predict, and then instead of predicting the x, we are going to predict the poly under fit underscore transform. Let me do it, just a second. Well, right, so we'll run that. A minute. Yeah, and it's a little bit, but you can tell that at the four ends the curve flattens out a bit, right? So it's not just a straight line. And if we raise the degree even higher, let's say to power 4, you can see that the curve is little bit exacerbated, and where it gets a lot of thick towards at the top has. It's a auto start. Alright, that's great, but you may be wondering now, what if we don't just have x and y? What we have several x and we have only to predict one y and some combinations of that. And so the first thing we are going to do that, you are not going to be able to import our data. Okay. So I'm going to re-import all the libraries just in case you guys are coming back later and resetting. You can so we will import pandas as PD. So let's say our data will be equal to PD dot read underscore c CSV, and we are going to read the admission data dot CSV. Alright, great. Now we set the x and y, and in order to do that we are gonna do some little bit difference to variables. We could say x is going to be equal to 2 data set dot ilog, and then we are gonna have just colon empty colon, and then so what we want for x is we want from these zeros with attributes all the way 1 2 3 4 5 6 attribute, and the 7th will be our y. So we will say 0:6, and of course we want to put dot values at the end, and then our y will be equal to dataset dot iLoc, and we will say empty colon, and we can't see into 6 dimensions with our eyes. Unfortunately, at this point in time, so in order to see how accurate our model is going to be, and what we are going to do is we are gonna say from sklearn.model_selection, we are going to import train test split, and we are gonna have our X train and our X test. Y train or Y test, make sure that they are set equal to each other in this order. That's gonna be equal to train test split, and we are going to say our X or Y, and test size is going to be equal to 0.2 or 20% of the data. Now since we have 500 entries, that means the 100 data points will be set aside for testing the accuracy of our model. Okay, 20% is pretty normal, that's industry standard. And if you have a lot of data points, then you can make it higher. If you have little bit of data points, it just really depends. But generally you want to test data to be good representation of total training data without or with training data still you have, and usually the number is around 20% or 0.2 of the data set. So with that is. And now what we are going to do is we are going to do the same thing with polynomial features that we did above. We are just going to do it on multiple values. Okay, so we will say from sklearn the preprocessing import polynomial features, multi underscore poly is going to equal to polynomial features unless at the degree at first just equal to 2. Now let's say x underscore poly is going to be equal to multi underscore polyfit underscore transform, and we are going to transform the extreme, and we are gonna do this. We are going to see multi underscore poly. Oops, I forgot to add there. A multi underscore polyfits are going to fit x poly to the y. Trying. Now that we have that done, it looks like everything, and we are going to create our linear regression thing. So we will just len underscore brag underscore multi for multiple linear regression. It's going to equal to linear regression, empty parenthesis, and len underscore reg underscore multi dot fit, and we are going to fit our x poly to our y train. Yeah. Now y underscore spread, which is short form of prediction, is going to equal len reg multi predict, and we are going to predict multi underscore polyfit underscore transform. and we are going to do it in X. So these values that are the model have never seen before. We transform X and then we will say sklen import matrix, and then here we will just print or print out matrix mean underscore. Parent underscore error, and we are going to show the difference between y underscore test and her. Y underscore preds, because remember we have, and the original value of y is supposed to be in our y test. So we will run that and you will see our loss point is 0005, which is pretty good loss. It's a bit hard to tell with lack of data that we have, but it's pretty decent. Let's see if we can improve by changing the degree of polynomial features. So let's say 3. And unfortunately polynomial feature, that's just something that you're going to have on your own, and there's no way sort of map a correlation in your head. I think that's one up. Now let's try for. As you can see us taking longer to train on dataset, you have to guess the right degree or run it always. And it looks like 2 is for west, because if I recall correctly, if we just go back to 2, yeah, to his point 005 and other were like points. That pretty much for basic regression techniques you now know how to do simple. Linear regression to map polynomial features and how to add multiple xi features to pred. Let's up for this section. Alright then, so we did some regression problems, right? Now it's time to work with classification. And in case you forgot, classification is 1. We don't have any objects, any values on sliding scale. We either have something that is something or it isn't something. So in this example, we are going to be taking a look at a data set of cancer tumors and determining whether or they are malignant brain. So you can imagine this problem is hugely important. And once you connect it to Colab, we are going to press upload and import cancer.csv file. First thing we will say import pandas as pd, and then we will set our data set equal to pd dot right underscore csv, and we will say cancer c is free because has the name of our file csv. And then also remember we have to split our data into dx and the y. Now as you can see there are lots of columns, and I'm just going to print the length of dataset doc columns. And now shows that we have 33 columns. So 33 columns, that means 32 indexes, and we don't need id index, and we need diagnosis being a variable. So that means that x is going to equal to 2 data set. ilog, we are going to have just a column, and then we are going to go from the second value 0 1, which is radius mean all the way up 29, and of course we are gonna put dot values at the end, and then variables log, and it's just going to be the first column, which is to say the second column, because we are 0. So we are going to say sklen the model underscore selection. We are going to import train test plate, and then we are going to say xtrain, xtest, and the train and the y-test are equal to train underscore test underscore split and x and y, and we are also going to set our test underscore size equal to 0.2, which is 160-90 entries, means I will have little more. So run that. Give me a second, let me complete this whole. Test size equal to 0.2 or 20%. Run. Next we are going to, so now we are going to say sklen pre-processing. We are going to import our standard scalar dot and we are going to set scalar equal to standard scalar, and then we are also going to say our xtrain, and which is going to equal to scalar fit underscore transport xtrain, and we will do the same thing with our xtest, and this will be basically just to ensure the model and can understand the data and doesn't get too confused with the numbers being all over the place. If you put all numbers on the set scale, it's going to be easier for the models to draw conclusions, right? So we will say xtest is equal to scalar or fit transform xtest. So run that. So now that our data is scale, it's time to do logistic regression, and you might say hold up regression. And I understand that's confusing, but logistic regression is actually a classification algorithm, so we are discussing here. And the reason for that, that is, if you look at the image on the screen, what we are trying to do is we are trying to predict if tumor is malignant or benign, and so if it's a row or if it's one. So you can see here we actually use linear regression to solve problems, and however it doesn't work well because linear regression is supposed to work on sliding values, right? And obviously a tumor. Now we will say sklen linear underscore model. We are going to import logistic regression, and then we are going to set our model equal to logistic underscore classify, and we will say logistic classify equal to logistic regression empty parenthesis, and then we will say just logistic classifier dot fit, and we will fix our xtrain to our y-train. So I will run that. Just a second. Empty parenthesis and run. Logistic classifier dot fit xtrain y-train So I'm running it. Blank when we make the model. So what we are going to do is we are going to set wipe threads and we are going to set prediction values to logistic classifier which does predict, and we are going to predict the X test values now. And of course we have Y test values as well, so we just showed up to 2. And we will be able to see how accurate our model is, and in order to do that we are just going to say from sklearn the matrix, import confusion matrix, and confusion matrix is hugely important because what is going to show us which is not just gonna how accurate our model is, but it's going to show misclassify is and what kind of misclassification our model is performing actually. So just to show you what I mean, we are going to print out a confusion matrix. The confusion matrix parameter are going to be Y test and of course Y threads. Y threads. And now let me run it. And you can see right here you get 2 columns and 2 rows, and basically these are 2 data points correct predictions, and these represent the number of false predictions too. So what confusion matrix does is it gives little bit more information on how exactly your model is misclassifying and what model is getting. So up here this represents the number of positive values that were predicted to be positive actually. So let's import say from sklearn the SVM. We are going to import SVC and then we are going to set our SVM for a support vector machine equal to SPC, and then inside of here we actually are going to leave the sampling and we are going to add a kernel, and that kernel is going to be equal to our beef, and this sort of goes in the kernel trick, which of course I will leave resources for. But this is just a hyperparameter that we are going to play around with. Of course you can do whatever you like. You can get rid of the kernel whatever you want, but just for this example we are going to be using a kernel just to show you that it works. I know if you wanted to make a support vector machine for something other than classification problem like regression problem, instead of importing SPC from support vector classification, you would import as via search for support vector regression. Next we are going to do is we are going to call svm.fit and we are going to feed our extend to our Y train. Alright, so run that and you can see here under the kernel it says RBM because we passed in. So now it's time to print the confusion matrix, where we are going to do here we are just copying these lines values and we are going to paste them here as I already did, and instead of doing our logistic classifier I predict we are going to say as we have not predict, and that should be. So run it and you can see right there we get the same exact result as before. And now it's important to take note that because our test data is pretty small and it's about just 100 entries, you're not going to see too much difference between these algorithms. But as the data sets that you're working with become more complex, have more features, more complex patterns between each other, and more importantly are larger, the types of algorithms that you're using are going to generate vastly different results. But overall support vector machines do work better than logistic regression. Now obviously the problem really is simple. It'd be easier just use the logistic regression classifier because it's just very simple. not going to take lot of processing power too. You don't want to reinvent the wheel and just make a super hard, elegant solution to a really simple problem. And with that being said, it's on to decision trees, and now decision trees are something you have probably had of used or thought about outside of machine learning. And basically the idea that you want to break up actions and features, and then at the bottom you will have different classifications. Okay, so an example that's popping up on the screen is, let you say what to make a decision tree for deciding if a person is fit or unfit. So you would like to say, does that person eat lots of fast food then? If it's yes, then they are unfit. If it's no, then they are fit. Same thing with if they exercise regularly. If they exercise regularly, then they are fit. If not, they aren't. So that's very basic example that I would like to take. But a lot of companies use decision trees to map out more complex features and map out more complex trees of what our dataset is trying to show when they are trying to classify new data points. And so that was a little bit of a wordy explanation, but hopefully you guys sort of get the general idea of what our decision tree is doing. And basically, in order to implement our decision tree, all we are gonna to say is from sklearn that tree we are going to import our decision tree classifier. And as you have noticed, of course, we can also do decision tree regression, which isn't very common, but it actually works surprisingly well. I found generally at the bottom, you're going to want to have your classification like it's this class and this class at the bottom. I mean, your decision tree, which is why we are going to be using decision tree for classification example rather than regression example. So now let's make our model. We will call it tree, and tree will equal decision. Tree classifier and criterion are equal to entropy, so that our criteria will be focused on entropy of the model. That's just hyperparameter that we are going to be adjusting. Finally, we are going to call tree that fit. We are going to fit X train to Y train. Alright. So we have run that. You can see right here that our criterion is equal to entropy there. And now it's time to print out confusion matrix again. So I'm going to copy and paste the same code from above. So I copied, and sort of while Fred's doing SVM not predict, it's going to doing tree top predict. So we will run that and you will see this here. One decision tree is actually less accurate than our support vector machine and less accurate than our logistic regression example too. And the reason for that is one alone is not very strong. So if you think to those competitions that they have, well, they have a certain amount of items in a jar, and you have to predict how many items in that jar. So that's really interesting about human intuition, and each prediction will be pretty far off. But if you add up all those predictions and then divide them by the number of people who made those predictions, you will find that you get a number of that's very close to how many items that in the jar. Oh, am I right? And so what I mean, that's something which is really cool about human intuition that also applies to machine learning. One tree is not going to be very strong, but if you have a forest of trees, then it's going to be a much stronger model. You got my point, right? And that is the idea for from random forest classification too. And this is getting into what we would call ensemble learning. The idea behind ensemble learning is that you create a bunch of big models, and then if you combine them together, you can make a really strong model. And that's what we are going to get to a little bit in the next video. And when we talk about optimization, but for now we are just going to give you a taste of what's to come by creating a random forest. And basically a random forest is just a bunch of decision trees. You add up their predictions, divide them by the number of trees, and then you're going to get a more accurate prediction. So we will say from sklearn the ensemble, we are going to import the random forest classifier. And remember, you can do a random forest regression or two if your problem is a regression problem. And we will say forest equals to random forest classified, and our number estimates or our number of trees is going to be equal to. Let's just start with 100 trees, and our criterion will be equal to entropy again. And it's important to note decision trees are extremely powerful, but unlike some of other classification algorithms that we have worked with, they are prone to overfitting, which is why it's important that we have a test set, so that we can make sure that our algorithm doesn't really understand our dataset well, but not understand new data points. So we will set criterion equal to entropy here. Let's just say forest dot fit, and we will fit extend to wide range or not. Everything look nice. And now it's time to see if our random forest is more accurate than singular decision tree. So run that ends at a tree top predict. We will say that forest predict, or run that, and you can see now instead of 5 correct predictions, we have only 4 incorrect predictions. So you can see that between each of these examples, the actual gained accuracy is rather marginal, and that has more to do with the data set and the sizes of data sets and the testing set that are actually than the actual algorithm. But you can see overall our support vector machine performed the best as our logistic regression classifier has been discussed. However, our random forest did not perform as for this particular problem, or some other problems too. You will find that the random forest works better generally. You are going to want to use a support vector machine. There are some problems with support vector machines, but overall, support vector machine is probably the best classification algorithm that we have looked at. Up until when we get to the next thing or the next topic, which is optimization. And with optimization, we are really going to dive into ensemble learning, and we are going to see how powerful it can be, and also how quickly you can build a model with ensemble learning versus just doing something like deep learning. So yeah guys, that's a pretty much for this section. Alright guys, with no delay, we will be starting with most exciting part of this module. And in this video, we are going to working with optimization. Now it's time to take those algorithms to maths and really push the accuracy on how we predict cancer based on several different factors. So the first thing, after connecting to runtime, we are going to upload cancer dataset, and here our breast cancer dataset, and we are going to do some pre-processing. So we are going to say import pandas as PD and say dataset equal to read underscore CSV cancer, and then we are going to set the x equal to, if you remember the last video, the dataset that ilog, and we are going to do colon. And then from 2 to 29 values, and y is going to equal to dataset ilog, and we are gonna have one right there values. Alright, see, we will run that. Next, what we are gonna do is we are gonna do our time test split, so that we will have a test set to test. Let me complete it. input values. So we will say from sklen.model underscore selection, we are going to import the train car split, and we are going to say xtrain xtest ytest equal to train test split x comma y, and we will set test size equal to 0.2. So we will have 20% of data set aside for testing. Okay, so run. That looked like everything went smoothly, and now if you remember at the very beginning, the pre-processing part of our module, we talked about scaling. So we are going to see if we can improve the accuracy of our model by scaling all our values so that they are on the same spectrum. In order to do that, it's really simple. With sklearn, we are gonna say from sklearn pre-processing, we are going to import standard scalar, and we are just going to say our scalar is equal to the standard scalar, and then we are gonna say our xtrain is equal to scalar dot fit transform our xtrain, and we are gonna do the same thing for our xtest. So xtest is going to be equal to scalar fit underscore transform xtest. So run that, and now, well, you can see that all of our values are scaled. So if I print out, let's say xtrain, you can see here all the values are in a certain range. Okay. So now that we have the time, it's time to work with our first way of optimization, and we are going to do something called principal component analysis. And in principal component analysis, if you have noticed our cancer dataset, we have a lot of different features of our model. Now principal component analysis is going to do, this is gonna take these features and it's going to reduce them. So does it reduce the features? Well, if you remember, with linear regression, we had two variables, right? X and Y. We wanted to try to predict new variables based on correlation between two data points, like a son and father height relation, where we correlated, right? And that's essentially what we are doing in principal component analysis. Now, given in principal component analysis, you are measuring the direct distance from the line versus in linear regression. You are measuring the vertical distance away from this line, and what we are gonna do is, if we have two variables that are highly correlated, what we can do is can say, okay, so all of these are two variables. The correlation is represented by a line, as you can see here. Now if it represented by the line, we don't need to have x and the y. We can just have the x has a scalar value because we don't have to worry about direction anymore. And so that basically how you can reduce dimensions, and it's super easy to implement, and you can get higher accuracy on your model if you have a lot of correlation features. And also if your data set's really large, this can help reduce the dimensionality of your data set. So this is really helpful. What we are going to do in here is, we are gonna take all of these features and we are going to reduce them to just 2 dimensions. And by doing that, we can perform just simple logistic regression that we can actually print a graph out of it. So we will say from sklearn dot composition we are going to import PCI for principal component analysis, PCA, and there they were going to say PCA equal to PRCA, and our number of component will just equal to 1. So we will take all our x values and then just return them into single data point. So we will say our x underscore train underscore scale is going to equal to PCI fit transform back at underscore train. And now just to sort of show you what I mean, you see up there we have all these different values. If we print out our x underscore train underscore scale, let's just the first 10 values. You can see right here that we have taken all these features and reduced them to 2 features. Alright, so now that we have all of our x variables and one single feature, it's time to do some basic logistic regression here. So first let's just plot out our x and our y. So we will just say import matplotlib has pltd lt. I'm going to save plt dot scatter, and we are going to have the x scale and the y train, and then we will run plt dot show and do that, and you can see here so we are going to say y preds is equal to gradient boost pred. We are going to predict the x test, and then we are going to say from sklearn dot matrix import confusion matrix, then we are going to print the confusion matrix of y test in comparison to y pred. So that and you can see we don't misclassify any of here, and we get 6 classification wrong here. So overall that's pretty good improvement of our model. And if we run this multiple times on multiple different task sets, we are going to get different values from this. You can see pretty quickly get a fairly accurate model. So now what we are going to try to do is we are going to do extreme gradient boosting, and extreme gradient boosting is pretty similar to regular gradient boosting, except extreme gradient boosting has a couple of hyperparameters adjusted. And as always, if you are interested in how that all works, people who are better explaining it than me have done so below, and I have put them in the description for you to check out. But sometimes that really cool about X boost or extreme gradient boosting is that it went more. So this is an extremely powerful algorithm, and it's also extremely simple compared to very complex neural networks that would usually win a casual competition. And all you have to do is import actually boost is just say I'm import XGBoost because it's separate. It's separate library actually, which is already installed in Colab. So let's run this. And now we are gonna do is we are going to do the same thing with confusion matrix. So copy that, paste it into here and set a gradient booster predict. We will say extreme booster at predicts. So we will run, and you see this only makes 4 mistakes whereas I made 6. So that's a pretty marginal. It seems like pretty marginal gain and improvement. But still we have extremely accurate model, and just like that you guys have worked with gradient boosting and I have worked with principal component analysis too. You know how to make many different models. You know how to make those models more accurate. You know how to do with the data set. You know how to make sure that your data set is correct for the problem that you have tried to solve, and you have really come a long way. So pat yourself on the back. And now it's time for you an extra credit assignment or a task which will be credited soon. And in extra credit assignment that I'm going to assign you, and I want to show you what a difference makes. If we don't do standard scaling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run over dataset again, and we are not going to run the cell with standard scaling. So if it's so you run, you see we have all sorts of different values, and we are going to see what happens if you don't scale the data set. So first, let's see what happens with principal component analysis. And you can see right here there is actually a little bit more overlap between X and Y than there before. Thank you all.